It's 558 day. Brian and Chris here, and we are here to sum up the notes. As a reminder, while the Steam leak told us that there would be data center visit, if we go back and review the footage from the live announcements, we knew that it would not be in this later, but along the way, it was believed that that would be the case because 458 gave us World Visit. That will be sometime in the September to November timeframe, so it does seem like it's pre 6.0. They haven't nailed down a date on that, and so I think they're probably holding back to say, like, what if it needs to push back to, help them get more servers online, help them get Oceanic more prepped, because I think in my mind, data center visit is nice, but there's a lot of people just trying to get into the game on any server.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
let's get started.
All right. Yeah. So, guys, just forgive me. My voice is still recovering. So you're getting extra special Barry Manilow, Brian, today. So sound off in the chat with Barry Manilow, and we'll go from there. I'm going to let Chris do kind of most of the talking. So, Chris, take it away, man. We got nothing really to promote. Otherwise, if you got thoughts, come hang out with Chris on Twitch right after this video goes live.
So patch 5.5 and 5.55 is the bulk of the content that is not seasonal based events, but 558 here is helped. It's here to help catch us up and get us into 6.0. Experience by trusts are increased. So if you have not maxed out your trust this expansion and you want to, that will be easier. Cloud Deck Extreme at this point is no longer something that needs to be raid finder, so they've moved it over to the duty finder. People have that under control, and along with that, the drop rate for the diamond quiver trumpet in the cloud deck has been increased, and then of course you can turn in those 99 totems to get that mount as well. The weekly restriction on receiving blades of lost antiquity from Eden's Promise, that's E12, has been lifted, so that's the last of the loot restrictions that I think we'll see lifted this expansion. But there's some other exciting stuff relic based down below, and the strength of the echo has been increased. And so, but unlike other instances, the strength of the echo will not increase in the event that all party members are incapacitated. So this is just to help people get those clears.
You're going to be
want to finish that tier,
attempting the tier 11 again, right? Like that's something that's on your schedule.
Yeah. So I'm going to try to get a E11S clear this Thursday in Todd's night stream. We're going to do it no echo, but it's there to help people if they do want those echoes. You can now echo your way through the tier if you want to kind of see that fight. Todd has a hard rule that I do agree with, that first clears, if at all possible, should be no echo, but the echo does help people kind of do re-clears or help get people into Savage that otherwise just wouldn't do it at all, because obviously the echo makes that much more obtainable. Now, Paradigm's Breach, the last of the Yorha raids with those lovely 520s. The weekly restriction from coffers has been removed. The weekly restriction on coins has been removed. So if you want to push your 520 tome gear to 530, you can grind Yorha as fast as the queues will get you in there. The following items will now appear in treasure chest allotted to each party of an alliance. And so they've got a big old list there. And now we jump down into the relic. The amount of metal rewarded from skirmishes and critical engagements in the Bosnian Southern Front and Zadnor is already insane, has been increased, but only between resistance ranks 1 and 14. So they're just helping people kind of blast through that 14. I don't think you could even be in Zadnor sub 10.
Right.
So
yeah, there's certain requirements you have to.
It won't affect Zadnor too much, but for anybody that is in Zadnor, it was already crazy when you first set foot in there. So if you're able to get in there at 10 or 11 or whatever what happens when you get your clear, you should blast through that. The following adjustments to Castrum. We are now starting to prep Castrum. You're seeing at this point when that lower boss fight there that has the tethers that pops up that people have to soak. They've reduced that damage dealt when you take concurrence. Previously, I know as a tank, like it felt like maybe with cooldowns I could survive too. I probably wasn't meant to, maybe, but now it clearly seems like, hey, let's make sure that if somebody needs to soak 2 in a phase, they can soak 2 consecutive. And then the maximum health by the NPC down there has been increased as well. The mechanic requiring people to stand on the stairs to get those kind of, I think that's the bonus chests, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
I only cleared it the number of times I had to. This should allow for groups of 6 or less to get there clear. So this should make getting through that castrum step a lot easier. On the critical engagement of Serpent's Wings, the cast time of the enemy action used in the final phase has been increased from 60 to 90 seconds. So that should help with wipes on groups that just aren't quite getting that clear. And then we've got some drops, Loathsome Memory of the Dying.
Yes.
So that's the castrum step, I think. And so that will now also drop from critical engagements more often, just in case you can't get your castrum clear. And then you've got Haunting Memory of the Dying from Fates, jumping from from the Alliance raids 1 to 3, and then from the designated Fates, that'll give you, that's a guaranteed drop if it wasn't before. I think it is now.
Yeah, this is just helping to increase that lower end step to get more people through that. Right. Or if you have already completed your relic or you're doing more steps, you can actually get more of these items to help funnel you through, obviously, the content.
And this will help the system age a little more gracefully. Vexatious Memory of the Dying. We've upped that from 1 to 3 as well. There's obviously a lot of steps after that they still haven't touched, so I don't know if they'll go back and touch those later, or if this is it, and this is kind of how they're putting it into a more maintenance state. The items required to enhance your Allegan Tombstone gear can be purchased from Feathered in Yulmore, and so that requires those 3 coins that now we can farm as much of as we want per week. We could only get the first 2 before.
Yeah.
And then after upgrading equipment, that'll get you that kind of augmented gear, which is that's how I've been getting to 530 pretty easy without access to a savage group or the desire to go pug savage. Is I've just been augmenting my gear. And there's some stat priority there if you really care, but it's 530 just the same. Now PvP got some adjustments. So this looks like we've got buff. Does anybody not get buff?
I thought
damage required to trigger Thundercloud on Black Mage.
Yeah.
So Black Mage got a minor nerf. Everybody else got a buff. Typically, if you're wondering what happens in this game, typically we see more buffs than nerfs. So PvP here, no exception to that. And then Season 20 of the Feast will begin. Remember that they did announce with all the PvP changes in the Q&A and everything, and people asking about it, they said, we're reevaluating. Even though we're not giving you a lot of information on it, just know we're listening. We're taking all that feedback. We do expect PvP changes to be a big focus of Endwalker for that community. So they've looked at, they're going to be adding a new mode. So they have said that the first season of Endwalker, they're holding off on announcing that. So if you do have an interest in taking part in a season, this is a great time to do one, because we don't have a confirmation on when the first season of Endwalker will be here.
Yeah. And as far as it goes, though, that's where it's like we're getting these PvP changes, but I'm so curious as to the big, like, what is coming with Endwalker in terms of those changes themselves. So if nothing else, if you guys are enjoying the PvP, hopefully these are some updates that you guys are excited about.
Size band mode. We don't bigger than Feast, smaller than everything else. We don't really know much.
Yeah, and we do know if it's successful that it could replace the Feast. That's what they've said as well. So it's, I don't know. Like, I'm excited to see what ends up falling in this regards.
Now, here's probably the biggest news. Anything dealing with servers right now, anything in here about servers is the big news here. For anybody that's been dealing with queue times, AFK timers are re-enabled. We have seen them do this in the past. This is now going to be a 30-minute automatic log. There are ways around the AFK timer. Just keep in mind why this is there. This is there so that we as a community can all hop in, so that it's not going to grab every single player that steps away from their computer for 30 minutes, but it should grab the vast majority and should kind of kick them out. So please don't go around skirting it or posting below how to skirt it. If I see those comments, I'll delete them. So just heads up, that's not the goal here. Just like skipping cutscenes in Praetorium. Is there a way? Yes. Should you be doing it?
No.
And then we've got some issues being resolved, such as the Raktika Greatwood. There's an NPC that wasn't behaving. There's some Save the Queen relic notes that weren't displaying correctly. Cutscenes for Gunhilda were not displayed correctly. We've got issues with ultimates where target selection from the boss would be hard for those people that have been lucky enough to win PS5 roulette. An issue where graphics in Blade's Fortune wasn't displaying correctly. Displayed like through Triple Triad NPC. And then when players couldn't log in after using the Homeworld transfer service, I'm sure just servers are getting slammed, so it doesn't shock me that there's any bugs going on with transfers of any kind. And then visiting another world server, having some issues, minor text issues. So nothing major there. I will say PS5 has been, I mean, I think just through sheer people we're seeing any weakness. It is the newest of the platforms. So I have heard that like the PS4 version is running cleaner on PS5s. I have heard that people that have PS4 Pros and PS5s are saying their PS4 Pro is actually running the game a little bit smoother than PS5s right now. So I don't think we're done seeing PS5 continue to get just little tweaks. This is why they roll out version changes. This is why we see things like World Visit, hopefully Data Center Visit, systematic changes do roll out in this kind of no man's window between 0.5 and the expansion, because this is the time where if there was something that kept you from having an optimal experience, way better now than November 19th, 20th, 21st.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, glad to see they're continuing to make those efforts.
So that's the patch notes, guys. That's the information. The patch is live, and this obviously is a great time to farm. So for all the new players coming in who are curious about getting ready for Endwalker, you don't need to. This is optional farms, but it's going to help push up your item level. It's going to help take you into the expansion and give you essentially a way of not having to gear up as quickly as you level through Endwalker. So if you're having fun, this is a perfect time to really kind of jump in on the content that you like the most and really gear up alts, gear up, I don't know, just play and have a good time. And use this as a great way to kind of like fill out your summer as we wait for more of these events to drop here in August and in September. Obviously, the big note was no data center visit, like Chris hit on at the top of the show. And when it comes down to that, we'll keep you guys up to date as that information becomes readily available and what will be happening and what we'll be testing more. But we do not have an ETA on that. I'm going to venture to bet if we don't hear about it in August, that September around the media tour is probably when they're going to talk about it, because I have some live letters scheduled for around that time. So anyway, guys, Chris, any final thoughts before I go get some
for anybody jumping
coffee?
versions right now, or jumping kind of, I know there's some people considering other versions. There's people, on PS5 obviously might want to try going back where they were before just for a little bit. This is a great time to be reminded to back up your settings. So in your character selection screen in the top right, there's a gear. You can back up both your system settings and your character settings, two different things. They go straight to the Square Enix cloud. They're stored there for all of time. And so for anybody, I know some people have been considering jumping from controller to keyboard or keyboard to controller to try it out during this window. This is a great time to back that up so that if in the future you change platforms and you try to revert, you've at least got those things locked away. I know Brian just posted over on Ginger Prime why he plays with controller. And so as people try out different things, this is a great time to try out other game modes, try out other control schemes, try out other platforms, even try out other games, with New World getting quite a bit of focus today. And
Absolutely.
so it's just a great time to remember to back that up, ideally at least once an expansion. It doesn't take long to do.
I recommend once a month. I usually try to tweet that out for Work to Game as well. Hey guys, don't forget to back up your settings, just so that as you transfer platform to platform, it makes it much easier. I did see chat asking, do they think my controller guides would work with the Steam Deck? And I would say 100%. I think they're built for that platform. So we'll keep you guys up to date if for some reason that changes and whatnot. So hopefully you guys enjoy that and more. Well, I think that's all that we have time for today.
Pre-ordered a Steam Deck, so wouldn't you be able to make a translation guide if anything is slightly off?
I know. I'm excited. We don't have a date on it, but I'm going to get one.
It'd be worth subscribing to Ginger Prime.
And subscribe to Gaming Kinda. He's not getting the hardware, but he's cool. Anyway, without further ado, guys, that's Chris, and I'm Brian Manilow today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the patch notes. Let us know what you think. Hit that like, favorite, subscribe, share. We'll see us in our next video. We got a couple scheduled, actually. We're a little bit ahead of the curve. And hopefully you guys have a fantastic week. But until then,
take care.